flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, all board members are present. Mr. Groby is on the phone. Can I get some approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor Schultz. Any discussion? Employment, seasonal cases, okay. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Next one up. Thank you, Mr. Groby. Next up is a motion to open public hearing on disposal of county-owned property under Iowa Code Section 331.361, legally described as Lot 7 in Block 5 of Babbitt Place in Council Bluffs, Potawatomi County, Iowa.
Motion to go in closed session. Or open, I'm sorry, public hearing.
Open public hearing, Supervisor Shea. Thank you. Supervisor Whitman. Roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Groby. Groby?
Lynn Groby.
Alrighty.
Okay.
that as an aye.
Lynn Groby.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, we have a public hearing open.
Oh.
Okay, any comments from the public on the public hearing?
Hey, Lynn? Lynn? Groby?
Yeah?
Well, you might want to mute your phone. We're getting some feedback.
You might want to mute your phone. Get too much feedback?
A lot of feedback.
Okay. You want to say anything, Matt?
Sure, just so everybody has an understanding, you had approached me, I think, Mr. Liston, John Liston owns, there's like 10 little lots that are all basically unusable, I think, timber. We took one over on a tax sale in '94. He owns 9 of them. This is sort of the end of that line. And so Mr. Liston approached the board about could he acquire that, you know, little strip of land. It's sort of at the end of that line. I had a conversation with him. He said he was willing to pay what the assessed value was in 2020, which was all of $165. So I prepared a resolution for you to that effect.
Okay. And it's really like a side bank of a hill.
Right.
You know, more of a liability than anything else in my mind. But any other? Okay.
I'll move to close.
Can we get a motion to go out close public hearing?
I'll make a motion to go out of.
I got a
motion. We'll put you a
I
second.
need a second.
Okay, sorry,
Second, Brian?
not paying attention.
Okay, second, Supervisor Shea.
Probably contagious.
Any
You sit too
discussion?
close to me.
Okay, roll call.
Chairman Bell,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman.
Aye.
Bell. Oh, sorry. Schultz.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Groby, you'll have to unmute.
I think he hung up. I don't think he realized it.
No, maybe,
Scott, I'll make the motion to,
Approve and authorize the board to sign resolution number 36-2021 for disposal of said real property.
second.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Wickens, by Supervisor Schultz. Any discussion? The only discussion is we have and the treasurer is working on, quite a few of these properties within the county. And, we're trying to figure out a process to possibly get some of these back on the tax rolls. You know, figure this is a good test sample to get it one until we get some more of them back. Well, and we got, I don't know if you saw the email, we got contacted by a gentleman yesterday about 2 properties that are heavily inlaid with taxes and fees for the city maintaining those properties, so we may see more of that coming down the road, so. Roll call?
Chairman Bell.
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman. Groby.
Aye.
Gray. Schultz.
Aye.
Shay.
Aye.
Good.
I will get a deed, prepared, and then as soon as we get a check from Mr. Liston, then I'll give that to him, and it'll be his responsibility to get it recorded, so.
I'll let him know what.
Yeah, I'll give him a call. I got his number.
Okay, thank you. Jason Slack, Director of Buildings Ground, discussion and or decision to approve change order 1, 7-day time extension due to delay in contract signing. Jason?
That one's, it's pretty self-explanatory. The contract originally was dated for a week prior to, when it was actually signed. I think it's the board being thorough. So this is just a 7-day extension. So moved.
Second, okay.
Motion by Supervisor Schultz. Second by Supervisor, what do you got?
I'm putting Wickman down.
The 7 days is, it's a really only 5 working days, right? Or the 7th
It's calendar days, so.
calendar days? Okay. Any other discussion? When, approximately are we thinking of starting this? You got it?
We have our pre-construction meeting, starting Thursday morning at 9 o'clock. And, we'll know more after that meeting.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next up, we have, is Matt coming, Tracy?
No,
Or is it?
or I don't,
I thought he was, but
he might be, I'm not sure.
Matt White, Plan Director, and or slash Tracy Noskable, Environmental Health Coordination, discussion or decision to increase the percolation test fee from $325 to $450 and to sign resolution number 38-2021 to amend the county code chapter 1.5 scheduled fees. So moved.
I'll second.
So
Tracy,
we have a,
Yes, sir.
do we do those tests or does a contractor?
We have some of the contract, or not through us, but we have private individuals that actually do them as well.
Okay.
Last year, mid-year, we quit doing them because with COVID and everything, we got so busy, we couldn't keep up. And when we're out there, it actually takes us pretty much an entire day
Yeah.
for one man to do, so.
Okay. Is that in line with other counties, the 450?
Yeah, everyone pretty much raised their prices. The average, one of our individuals is $400 to $450. And another individual that does them mainly, the 2 main ones in our county, and they're up at $500. So $450 is a happy medium.
Okay.
I don't think other counties have staff that do perk tests other than us.
They just have contractors.
Mhm.
Okay.
so you said one was 500 and the other was what?
$400 to $450, depending on distance from his area.
So are those, what are they licensed through the DNR or something, or how do they?
They have to be an engineer, Iowa engineer.
They have to be an engineer. So do you keep a list of the ones that are, able to do that?
We have one, currently we have just a couple of them on file besides ourselves, so we have 4 in the county that are doing them right now,
4 in the county people that,
including, us,
so 3 and us.
yeah.
Okay.
And Pam, real quick, how often do these schedule fees need to be?
Reviewed.
Yeah.
In the code, it says you can review them every year in June, but it doesn't say you have to.
When was the last time we did it, do you know?
2007, when we implemented the building code, which those haven't been changed either, but
That seems like we did it sometime after that. We looked.
No, I attempted to come in and review those fees and kind of bring them up to date. And at the time, the board didn't want to do it at the time.
Okay. So would it make sense to put behind the, say like this percolation test, put a date behind there on, you know, like 5, 25, or 20,
Well, that's-
21?
We use the resolution as our record of time to when.
No, I understand, but the rest, to know when a specific one, because the resolution, I mean, it's specific to the percolation test, and you don't know when the rest, or when these other ones were done. I just, for some, I guess, simplicity, and being simple, I guess, to know when. So, you said in June, we should review these potentially?
it says in the code that the board may review them.
And how do you guys keep tabs on making sure the rates are current, average, or whatever? I mean, how does that work?
So for the building code side of it, they send out a structure to allow us to look and see if we're at the appropriate rates for what's kind of.
The state does, or?
No, it comes from the International Code Council.
Oh, yeah.
And then on the septic side of things, you get updates from the Iowa DNR on what, there's a survey that goes out on what people are charging for their septic permits. And we have, you know, even the septic permits haven't been adjusted in over 15 years since I've been here. And so, I mean, there's kind of all those fees that, yes, we have fallen behind on there. But it's, the last time we went through it to try to get the price adjustment made, there was a lot of work involved in it. Before I brought it before the board, and so then that's when the board said, you know, listen, we don't want to touch it and adjust those rates. So if the board really wanted us to adjust those rates, then I think that'd be something this time around. We came and we saw it, because we know is that something that the board would want us to do before all that work was put into it to bring it back for approval, because it is an in-depth process that you have to go through. Even our building permit fees were quite a bit cheaper than like the city, even the city council plus and things like that.
Well, excuse me, what you said what was?
Our building permit fees were quite a bit cheaper than like the city council plus.
And how about these other, permits that, for the animals and the other things that are on here? Are,
So the licensing fees, we haven't changed, but the licensing fees for animals are, you know, maybe the city hasn't changed theirs in a long time either. We're pretty comparable on that part of it. The sexually oriented business licensing, that hasn't been changed since the code was adopted. Like you said, all your septic permit fees haven't been, well permit fees the same, haven't been adjusted in over 15 years. Landfill charges, that's the local siting, 5.05. Same with section 5.3, that hasn't been changed in over 15 years. Rural addressing would be the same. Same thing with county code title 8, zoning ordinance, none of those fees have been altered in a great number of years. And same with chapter 9 for the subdivision. Then the building code, that brings us into the building code, which was adopted in 2007. They modified these fees shortly after adoption, but then I think still within 2007 or 2008 when that happened, but those fees haven't been altered since that time.
Well, I don't know what the board's feeling is, but I think it's probably something we should probably get it done or evaluated if it's been that long. And then all the fees that are still in the schedule here are still applicable, I would assume, right?
It ain't getting cheaper.
No.
Nothing's getting cheaper in this world.
Yeah.
You know, I think the important thing is that they cover the costs.
Well, yeah,
And that's it.
cover the cost of,
The inspection requirements and that kind of thing.
well, our man hours that we have to
Right.
do and stuff. I don't know that we're probably ever doing that, are we? Able to cover our total costs?
Not total costs. It's,
Well, I don't know if you, wanna try to get that, and do we have to do it in June then,
No, it just says
May?
you may do it in June.
But,
We can change it at any time.
well, I don't know, what's the rest of the board think, we should take a look at these?
I do think we should, before the start of the fiscal year.
Well, I don't,
And just, all I wanna know is, I guess if we do this, that I just wanna see which ones are going up and make sure that it makes sense for, you know, I don't wanna just roll over. You know, and then when's this effective? Is this effective today? Is that what it is
The
on
perk
resolution?
test would be
it would be effective,
So you got people.
today if you guys approve this
Oh, it is?
resolution.
I thought it had to be published first to be effective.
Not this schedule of fees because
Okay.
it's not, it's different than an ordinance, so.
Okay.
Do you have anyone in the hopper right now that thinks that their perk test is gonna be $325 and we're gonna raise it to $450 on
We
them?
have them scheduled at the moment.
Okay.
we're a little short on personnel. We've been, for the last few years, we've done as few perk tests as possible, just because other inspections have kind of dominated the environmental health inspectors' times. A lot of times, if we are able to get an environmental health intern in, then we'll utilize those individuals for percolation testing, because it does take a lot of time for a person to do it.
There has to be somebody else out there on site when our person's out there doing the percolation test, is that right?
No. Usually it's just that person out there on site.
Okay.
I mean, do we even wanna be in this business? Is it even necessary for us to be in? I mean, I know there's contractors out there. Is it something we wanna do?
I think it's necessary for us to be in it because there are so few people providing that service. And so it does allow us to do some to make sure projects can move forward. We just don't want to be the first choice.
Well, we will be if we're cheaper.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
What,
there is a high demand for perk tests and we get calls frequently.
There's a highway.
Demand for the perk test and then there's really, even though we have multiple people on the list, only one gentleman really does them, right?
Yeah, the majority of them.
And then it does push their projects back
So
because
they
they have
not
to
only have
wait.
to be done on new construction, but typically on bless you, every sale of every.
Anytime they need to replace laterals, they have to have a percolation test.
Any new installation, whether it's a replacement or new construction, has to have a percolation test within the last 12 months.
But not if it's a selling, transferring property.
Correct, that's time of transfer inspection, and we do not do those, we review those.
Okay.
Those are done by private contractors.
Okay.
If we set that fee and you use the firm that, charges $500, where's the other 50 come from?
No, Tracy or Alex would be the ones doing the perk test. And then the county gets the money. We don't hire that private person to do it and pay him. It's the public's choice, if they want to use Tracy or if they
Oh,
want
I
to
got
use
you.
somebody else on the
Yeah,
list.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that could come down to a time basis.
Put on a
How
schedule.
far out are you on perk test?
We have a couple people trying to get them scheduled right now, but it's weather dependent and everything and haven't scheduled anything.
And they may get tired and just go to the private contractor.
And it's always, with a shortage of individuals, it's always high demand and it's, as I said, holding up all the jobs, so. They usually, whoever can get them done the quickest is usually who they go with.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm not opposed to, I guess, us, taking a look at all the fees and such, if it's been, 2007's really kind of the last time they were, I guess, adjusted or looked at. And make sure we're in the market, I guess, if that's the proper term, but, you know, getting the stuff we should be getting for what we're giving for the service.
Pam, is it realistic that you could review these scheduled fees and come back before?
Fiscal year.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
I don't know that we have to do it by July.
No,
1st.
Justin just mentioned he'd like to have it done.
Well, Brian was,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I did. I thought we could do it in June.
We could start the process now, and then that way, as we get towards, budget season coming up, then we could be prepared for that next round of the budget cycle.
Okay.
yeah. Let's shoot for that.
So you want to review them so they're, covering the costs of inspections and personnel?
Well,
We should know what the deficit, you know, what
We
the
got-
difference is.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, some counties around us don't even have these, right?
On the billing side,
Right. So I guess find out what's out there and,
I think it'd be good for us just to know the information. You don't necessarily have to bring it in form of resolution saying we're gonna change it. I think we need to take a look at it and decide whether or not we want to. And it doesn't necessarily have to happen in an open session, but I mean, to me, we have a pretty fair schedule of fees for what we're doing here. And if we start jacking rates up and making it stupid, then we may not get the kind of development that we wanna get. So I think we just need to make sure we are all understanding what we're doing
But
before we go
if
put it on
we're-
a public session.
If we're not covering costs, is that what you're saying? Some of them aren't covering costs?
Oh, I don't know that for a fact. I
Okay.
was just asking what, as far as reviewing them, is that what the board wanted to see?
so you're never gonna cover the entire cost of the
Okay.
service.
No, but there's,
But we have the formula, the breakout way to show you what the service costs versus what the personnel costs us to perform that service. And so that personnel cost is usually what the county provides on it, and then the service cost is what we hope to cover by the permit fees each year, or the other different fees that are out there, but the county usually covers the personnel costs on it. That's the way we looked at it when we did like the recycling center project and things. But when we go to do this, then we'll just show you like the metro area wide, what those different fees are set at, and then we expand it out a little bit larger on another set of numbers to show you what's being done across the state. So then that way you can look at the two different pieces of it and then decide, you know, do you wanna be at this rate or the other? Or stay where you're at.
I'm all about being fair. I just think we gotta
yeah.
decide what kind of services we should provide versus what it costs and things like that. And I just think us knowing those ahead of time is gonna be good for us.
But
Cause I don't wanna be indirectly raising taxes, 'cause that's exactly what this will be if we start doing.
waiting, 13, 14 years to do it is not probably.
No, and I
the
think
best
it's good
way.
to know what they should be. I agree
Yeah.
there, 100%.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'm good.
Roll call?
Chairman Belt.
Aye.
Supervisor Schultz.
Aye.
Wickman.
Aye.
Shay.
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Good. Moving right along. Don Gross and/or Ryan Osel, is that correct?
Yeah.
Correct. MAPPA discussion and/or decision to approve and authorize board to sign resolution number 39-2021, approving the selection of a firm for asbestos survey and abatement removal inspection services. Don?
Okay, we published a request for proposals. We received 2 proposals, one from ATC Group and one from Terracon. The low bid is Terracon. They bid to do 8 asbestos inspections of the 8 properties at 4,120. And also we asked them, we made the assumption that half would have asbestos, so we have to, on anything that gets asbestos removed, they have to have a follow-up inspection. And they bid that at $600. So for the total would be $4,720. ATC, their bid for the survey was $4,360, and their base asbestos abatement monitoring was $700. So their total bid was $5,060. Both qualified firms, I think you've used them before.
Motion by second by Jay. Thank you. I don't know, for some reason in my mind, I thought, did we have 9? Or has it always been 8?
8.
Okay, for some reason I thought we had 9 properties, okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Don, is that pretty much in line with what they expected those costs to be?
Oh, they're very competitive, yeah. I think we paid down south about $650 for the inspections, and about $150, I think, or $75 for the re-inspections. So.
And when you saying Mills and Fremont, is that?
Yeah, I don't know about Fremont, but Mills and Pacific Junction.
Pacific Junction.
ATC did those.
Oh, ATC was low on them?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Do I need to clarify that it's, because it's being Terracon is a little bit, that's a little bit from Terracon.
Did we not put it on the resolution?
Oh, there's blanks here.
Blank. We left it blank in case they didn't.
Determine that Terracon has submitted the lowest bid.
And the total amount of 4,720, is that right? Yes, $4,720.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call?
Chairman Belt.
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Shay.
Aye.
Groby.
Yes.
So once we get the contract signed, we will go ahead and notify Terracon to get going. Once they receive the notice, which will be by email, they have 21 days to complete that. That puts us probably around June 20th. We want to push this so we can then include it in the bid packet for demolition. So. The other.
Want to address the legal services.
Yes, the other thing we did also publish an RFP for legal services. We got 3 proposals. One from McGinn Law Firm for $24,000. Carrie Jensen in the amount of $18,400, and Peterson at $12,000. I haven't asked staff to put on a resolution. I want to make sure that that we're dealing with apples and apples on these proposals. Sometimes legal services, it's not as clear cut, so I need to make a few phone calls to make sure I understand what's all in their proposal. But I would think that within a week or two, we'll have that done. So I will call them and I will visit with Pam about, what we want to do. The other thing that we did submit requests for was for abstracting. We didn't receive any. We suspected that that would be the case. There is only one abstract firm that I understand in Loudon County. So the state has authorized us to do sole source negotiations with them for that service. Same thing they are doing in Oakland.
So are the 8 properties uninhabitable right now? Or is there people?
Some are occupied.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
Pam, did they do a lot of work to occupy them?
The structure didn't receive damage. It was just access to the structure. But because they were given the opportunity to apply for the funding, even though the structure itself may not be damaged,
Okay.
they
But
could
they
still
were
be
all
part of
empty.
the grant.
Hmm.
Some are vacant and not habitable.
Yeah, and I think once we get can go out with the demolition bid, which I would think late June, we should be able to give them 30 days, you think? So that'd put us at late July, knowing who will do the demolition. And I assume we're going to include the demolition and asbestos abatement in the same bid.
Probably.
But we have that choice to separate those. That will let us know what all of our costs are. I mean, you know what the appraisals are, we'll know what the asbestos is, we'll know what the testing is, we'll know what the demolition is. So then we can populate the application for CDBG assistance.
When will we bid out for demolition?
Late June.
Okay.
Now, we could perhaps push that a little quicker. If Terracon gets, the inspections done next week, we could, within a couple days, we could get that on the street.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next up we have Matt Wyatt, Line Director, Pam Calstrip, Acting Director, Nicholas Gall, Regional Rural Water Association, and/or Peter, is it Bottom?
Yeah, Baldwin.
I'll let you know when
Thank you. DGR, discussion and/or decision on proposed water line enrollment agreement.
Got some handouts for you again.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Peter Baldwin with DGR Engineering, representing Regional Water. Nicholas Gall is here too. So the 2 handouts I've given you, one is a map. The map hasn't changed from the one that I gave you 2 months ago. Our planned route is still the same, up Dumfries Avenue and 230th Street. The cost opinion is updated, so we've been in contact with Glenwood Municipal Utilities, that would be our water source, and they have now given us a connection fee. Their connection fee is gonna be $1,500 per downstream connection. So, the 2 developments that we're planning on right now, Heartland Properties with about 88 lots, that's still a plan, Mark?
Yep.
And then Jim Hughes Real Estate is planning on a approximately 75 lot development. So the connection fee is based on those numbers. Also, we've seen PVC pipe prices are high right now, so we've updated the cost estimate to reflect that as well. So for phase one, we're looking at a cost of $1.56 million. 2 months ago, what we were looking at was $1.29 million, I believe. So the county has offered to help with financing of the project, partially with a forgivable loan and partially with a loan to be paid back over 10 years. So first of all, we really want to thank the county for your willingness to be a partner with Regional Water in the project. Regional Water would like to pursue the forgivable loan or accept the forgivable loan, but right now they're looking at potentially another funding source through CoBank, which would offer a 20-year term for repayment. So.
What bank?
CoBank, they're one of our two principal lenders that we have an
Okay.
existing relationship with. It also simplifies the paperwork considerably if for the payback period loan that we have to, if we go through them. Otherwise, we have to get approval from rural development, the federal government, to borrow from anybody other than them or CoBank.
Okay. And you said the tap fee is what?
The $1,500 is the tap fee that gets passed on to Glenwood Municipal Utilities. That can be passed on at the time of the lot sale. The remainder portion that Regional Water needs for our expenses per lot is $4,500 per developer. For $4,500 per lot. $1,500 goes towards the construction at the actual meter pit, when the house is ready to be served, and $3,000 goes towards our financing of the note so that we have put a cap on our risk over the years that this will all get built.
What kind of interest rates CoBank giving you?
The very moment we're hearing 4.25%. We also get patronage that reduces the effective rate somewhat.
I mean, so, I mean, just serious question. I mean, to me, wouldn't it make more sense to borrow from the government, even if you have to go through some extra hoops, versus 4.25 at 20 years? Because you're gonna be paying a ton in interest over that
We
period
will
of time.
be paying a ton in interest if the houses are slow to be built. If these homes come on as fast as everyone is hoping, we can pay back a lot faster. The 10-year, we ran into two issues looking at borrowing through Potawatomi County. One is the 10-year repayment period did not give us any breathing room if anything went wrong. We would either have to significantly increase our tap fees or we would run a very large risk if something happened to the housing market.
It would have to be a 10-year note if you went.
10 years was what was offered
For us.
from Pot County.
Okay.
The other side of that is if we go through someone other than USDA Rural Development or CoBank, then we have to go through an approval process from the federal government that could add several months of paperwork before we can actually accept the term in order to have it ready for, in order to meet the deadline.
What actually you want to roll here? You want to go with CoBank and then have us basically front load what we were willing to forgive? Is that kind
Yes.
of what you're looking at?
Yes,
Which is how much?
I don't know.
300,000.
Okay.
Cause I mean, I don't want the project to be delayed any more than it already has, cause it's taken us, 2 years to get to where we are today? So, I mean, but on the flip side of that, I mean, this board, it is possible for us to consider, changing our terms. We weren't like, I don't think 10 years is like, gotta have it done in 10 years. I mean, I don't think we were saying that. I just think we thought that was a reasonable expectation for these homes to be built, which I still think it is. I mean, personally, I think they'll get them done. I mean, Hughes wants to get going next week if they can. So, I mean.
But then they have to go through a loan, the federal government process.
They do, but that's what I'm saying.
That'll delay you, what, 3 to 4 months?
I'm expressing a little bit of frustration, is all I'm saying. So
Yes.
we were pretty good people up here. We were more than willing to work with you and help you get this accomplished. So, I mean, just understand that. Like,
Yes.
We wanna be a partner and we'll always be your partner for that, so.
For this, yeah, I think just the way we'll get off the ground fastest and get moving is if we, again, take the 300,000 from you, finance through the Hill Bank, and for a future project, when we have, if there's a future partnership going up to, what was it, Greenview Road?
Yes.
With more advanced warning on that, we'd be able to get that ball rolling sooner and not have such a thing be a stumbling block.
What about fees? So what are we doing with fees here? We're gonna, 'cause that's the other thing is, if we're just gonna make fees to the point where homeowners don't wanna pay the, it's not worth it. I mean, cause you're talking $6,000 to tap on. Basically, if I buy a lot and build a house, I'm paying $6,000 to get on this. And then you're gonna charge me a monthly fee. Well, for $7,000, I can just put a well and not even mess with you. So I wanna make sure that what you're doing is worth it. So I mean, what are you doing for rates?
The standard rural rate that we charge and that we, at this point, we're intending to charge at least until all the debt service is dealt with. $53 a month for the first 2,000 gallons, I believe $9.25 a month, $9.25 per 1,000 gallons after the first two, and then there's a stepping down rate after that for larger bulk usage.
Okay.
That's, the idea is, we need to be charging that rate at least until we've gotten the project in a self-funding mode. At that point, the board of directors would revisit it and
Have you
determine.
got that tipping point? Have you got that figured out, the tipping point? How many houses it'll take to self-fund?
It depends on how quickly the houses get built. If the houses all come online and start paying their water bills within the first couple of years, we'll still need at least one more development to come online based on the ones we're hearing about so far.
Besides the two?
Besides the two, we'll need at least one more development to add on for us to get there in a timely fashion.
They'll still be about 300 short, well, plus interest, obviously, if we don't get that loan paid off.
Where did you come up with that 6,000?
1,500 goes to Glenwood and then 4,500.
Yeah.
4,500 is the tap-on fee, right?
4,500 is our tap-on fee, with 3,000 being for the project costs to get the water to the edge of the development, and then the 1,500 of that 4,500 is the fee to get it from the street to the curb stop.
So the total tap-on fee is $6,000.
Glenwood just upped theirs.
Glenwood wants to capture a fee that we weren't talking about, based on what's going on.
Why didn't we have that figured out first? I mean, what?
Glenwood and their engineer needed to figure out, because they don't have any customers that would be like regional water. So they needed to have discussions and look at their financials to determine what connection fee to charge to regional water.
So I guess,
What's that do, Mark?
Drives up lot costs. You know, we had initially discussed a total connection fee in the ballpark of $3,500. There's $2,500 more, you know. I think the consumer can pay the $1,500 to Glenwood at the time they connect on, but would have to build that $4,500 right into the price of the lot and pay. I think would be the cleaner way for the developer to pay rural development.
Is that doable, Mark?
I mean, cheaper's always better.
I understand, but
It's,
have good water is a big deal. Is it
Yeah,
doable there?
I'm curious what the average household
Can any of that be built
consumes.
into
You quoted 2,000, is that what they're?
2,000 is the monthly minimum. In this area, I think.
Typically 5,000 gallons a month is what a household will use, 4,000 or 5,000.
So you have about an $80
We're not there
Hold
yet.
on.
water bill, then give or take a few bucks.
I just don't wanna get the lot price up so high that it'll be.
no, I agree.
Right.
I'm 100%.
We hear stories out of Bentry, you know, the $400 to $600 water bills when they're watering their yards. Nobody wants that. Everybody would rather have well water for that, you know, to water to a 1.5 acre lot. Takes a lot, but I suppose that might help in the repayment. You know, our primary, we wanna make sure the service is delivered at a reasonable rate, as
If
Justin
we
pointed
commit
out.
to this, I wanna make sure we're
What's that?
all getting this water.
Yes. No, our intent is to connect every home in our development to it. I think users have some plans to sell off exterior lots ahead of time and service them with wells. And then certainly we'd like to leverage this infrastructure for, you know, we'll target acquisition along the water route, but whether there's a willing seller is, you know, takes two parties to make a deal.
You know, once the water is in there, I don't believe you can put a well on the lot.
Well, our covenants would dictate that no wells would be allowed with it. I mean, that's
Oh, okay.
part of us playing nice
Our
for
code
this
says that
project.
also.
So, Matt, real quick question, if,
Maybe able to get this right down to here.
the county was willing to look at the possibility of capturing some of those additional water costs into the TIF, is that possible?
We've already captured the water costs on the interior of the development for that water line. That'll all be a part of the TIF that we do. The any TIF funding for the actual water line from Mills County up would have to be set within a district, and we'd have to create a district all the way around it, and that's why last time we discussed we didn't wanna do that. And I don't know that we could do
Well,
that.
yeah, I don't think we're gaining anything.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is on, you know, if they're looking, the $300,000 was meant to be an incentive to the project, to either make it happen or reduce rates, some portion of it like that. And so I guess I would look at it at that portion of it. If the $300,000, you know, if the project can happen without the $300 and they go through their own bank and their own financing to make those deals go, then it goes. But otherwise, I think, you know, the $300,000, we need to look at what's the incentive that we're getting out of it. Are we getting either the project done on time, or are the connection fees getting reduced through that $300,000? Are the water rates getting reduced through that $300,000? What is the benefit that Potawatomi County is gonna see out of that $300,000? I guess that's kind of the part that I would ask on the rural water side. Because then that way you would know, because we do all hear this, and I don't know, like, your bill, Mr. Whitman, you're on rural water, you know, what's your monthly bill that you pay for water? I mean, is it outrageous, or is it, and,
Me?
yes, I think you're the only one up there on rural water.
That's personal information.
He doesn't want you knowing how long the showers he takes.
Here's the deal, I don't pay the water bill. Karen, my wife does, so I really don't even know what it is. But I can tell you, when we moved in and we watered the sod, it was probably $300 to $400 a month until we got the grass stabilized. But we knew that when we were building out there, the cost of water was gonna be higher than the city council was, so.
Did your connection fee stop anything from you getting a pool table downstairs or built-in bar?
That's personal.
No, you know what? No, it didn't.
Never been invited.
There was a number of things that got me to build where I did, and it was a hard surface road. It had city water, rural water, however you wanna call it, and those were the major factors of where we chose to, and same thing with these developments. It's going to have city water, paved surface. I mean, they're going to be, I think the lots will still sell fine with that.
And I mean, that's the way I look at those type of things. The market kind of drives those deals. Is anybody who's gonna build a house on either Mark's development, or, Heartland's development, or the Hughes development across the road, are they going to be missing anything from the home because, because it took away, because their connection fee was so high or something like that?
It just, I don't know, there's principle matter too.
I put a new pump in my well 4 years ago, and it cost me $3,500 to put a new pump in the well. And if I were to drill a new well out at my place, it would probably run me $10,000 to $12,000 to put a new well in.
Mark, what are your average lot costs there?
Yeah, for budget purposes, we're using 80 to 85,000 as our,
So $1,500 off 85,000. I guess I don't see, I mean, I don't wanna make it sound simple, but
yeah, the tap fee's not the only added cost. You know, obviously, if we choose to go with the rural water, we have still all the interior water infrastructure, those water lines will
right.
cost us about $700,000.
One thing to consider, if the county is willing to go to a 20-year loan term, that's something that could make it easier for regional water. And then we still have the issue with the parity agreement, with the federal government. But potentially, we could work through that too. We could get started on the project now with an understanding that some of that paperwork isn't all in
You take our 300 and
place.
get going, is basically what you're saying, right? You take our 300,000 and get things moving along, that way you buy yourself time to figure out the federal government side of things.
Yes.
Am I wrong on that?
Yeah.
So, the one thing I just don't wanna get to the point where, okay, now we're waiting on feds and we're waiting on 6 months, now these guys are sitting there screwed. That's a great gamble,
Have you guys qualified an outside lender through this program before? Got any idea what that timeline looks like?
Well, if we go through our existing lender, with CoBank, it's a matter of weeks to get, project funds.
If you choose,
I think
if
it's
the
smart move
county.
here would be to take our money, get your loan, get things moving going forward. After a few years, you're not getting the numbers you need, come back to the county and then we'll talk to you about potentially giving you the loan that has no interest, at that point. That's a heck of a lot safer of an option for you.
That puts a cap on our risk, and I like that.
And really, that'd just happen if we're not selling lots.
But
We're all looking to sell lots fast.
So is the loan at CoBank for, what was it, 4 1/4 or whatever you thought it was gonna be?
That's the rate we're hearing right now.
Is that a loan that there's no penalties if you pay it?
There's no prepayment penalty,
There's no prepayment penalty.
so.
And the rate is fixed for 4 1/4 for 20 years.
Whatever it gets fixed at, it will be fixed for the term of the loan. They will sometimes float it a little bit, before we're ready to start making payments, but once we start making payments, we fix the loan term, the loan term and the interest rate. And we've never had a prepayment penalty.
Is that the lowest, do you have any loans with them right now existing?
Yes.
Are the rates lower than that or higher than that?
We've had a couple that came in lower. We refinanced a amount of our debt at, early in the pandemic when interest rates were doing all the right things. We refinanced a bunch, but interest rates have started creeping a little up now.
Bond market's going
Yeah,
up.
I mean, I just don't want to risk delaying this project any longer. I mean, it's taken us way too long to even get to this point, and I think these guys need to get moving.
What I'm hearing is getting your own loan, we commit to 300 is the fastest way.
Yes.
And like I said, down the road, if we're just getting to the point where we're getting hosed, I mean, I think we just come back to the table and talk about it again, see if there's something that, I'll be honest, that could be 10 years from now, none of us may even be here. So it could be totally different board, totally different decision.
And you may not be either.
So,
The,
but at least, we're telling you the door's open.
the contract that we have still has the county advancing the loan proceeds in the amount of $990,000. So this contract's gonna change what we have.
Yes,
right
we're gonna have to change the contract for.
Matt, has your team reviewed this at all?
We reviewed it with Dorsey, but
Oh,
Dorsey, you're talking to this map?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
That
I
is-
sent it to Leanne,
Okay.
but I haven't gotten
well, it's gonna
any
change.
response from her, right.
I think we're moving in the right direction. If you look at the contribution from the county at 300,000. Once those homes are built, some board down the road is going to end up with $600 to $1 million worth of tax revenue that this board didn't have the opportunity to work with. So we're actually, it's a win, and I'm with Justin and Brian. I think we move on with the 300, get the bank to do the loan and rock on.
I got a question. Has anybody talked with Heartland's, the other developer?
No, this
Hughes.
is.
Oh,
You mean Hughes?
Hughes?
I talked to him like
Him and Heartland,
almost
the
every
other.
day, it seems like. I think they're fine with it. I'm just gonna,
The extra 15?
not that the topic's gonna get off track, but I mean, there's some other issues that they ran into, so they're really dependent now, especially interior, on getting this water source, so. Because there's a flood zone now in the middle, so it's gonna cut some of those lot sizes in half to 1 acre, and they'll need the water to be able to do what they want. Or not have that many lots, which we want as many lots as we can, they're tax base for us. So,
But I think
it also means that pheasant ground's still gonna be good.
if water is there, they have to take advantage of it.
Correct.
What can we do today? Can we do anything today?
No, because now this agreement will have to be reworked. But if you're giving us the direction on that's what we're gonna do, we're just gonna switch over to the 300,000 forgivable, then we'll have to go back to Dorsey's and have them redo the agreement to just that portion of it. Send that back around to rural water for their approval, your approval, and then we'll get it signed off on.
By next week?
No,
What's realistic?
2 weeks?
Can you do anything, can rural water do anything between now and then?
Yes, I can give direction to my engineer here to get the ball rolling because we know this is the track we're on. And at this point, we know this is what we're gonna do and we can pay the initial engineering costs up until until this all gets settled.
Yeah, I mean, I think just looking at the map and, knowing the area out there, I think there's gonna be other opportunities, and there's also a couple other neighborhoods that you may be able to run short water lines to and offer water to as well, and some of those folks so those neighbors have been there since, I don't know, early 80s probably, late 70s, so, I mean, they might actually be interested in getting city water instead of
Just
spending
looking at,
$3,500 on a new well.
just looking at the route, we're passing 40 homes in Pot County.
Yeah, all up and down Woodland Trail, you got tons of homes too, so, yeah.
With the route final, we can also, yes, now that we have the route final, we can be sending out basically our sales guy to approach those homes and say, hey, rural water's gonna be coming through here next year, do you want on?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in one of those neighborhoods, and I guarantee you I would have said yes in a heartbeat at the time, because I mean, that water's it is incredibly hard, and it takes a lot of treatment to get it to be good, so it'd be better if someone else is doing it.
And I think that is a big selling point, that Glenwood lime softens their water, it's good quality water versus what you can draw from a well is.
So how long is the agreement with, I don't know, is it Glenwood Municipal Water or whatever it's called? How long or agreement do you have with them?
We haven't fixed a term of years, but within the standard term of the period, we figure regional water, as long as these houses actually get built, we're eventually going to move to our own water source. So within the standard term of a water purchase agreement, we'll be able to retire from it.
So phase 2, are you gonna have to, and maybe that's just dependent on the number of homes, but you're gonna have to get another water tower up there somewhere probably?
So this pipeline to be built as part of phase 1 would have the ability to serve about 500 homes,
Okay.
probably more than 500 homes. It has the ability to serve far more than 500 with more improvements like water towers.
Yeah, you put a water tower and you basically unlocked a whole nother stream, okay.
Yes.
So if I heard you correct, you said something about an alternative water source or you get your.
In the long run, we're talking in
You guys basically your own
We're,
wells.
we're talking many more years from now. We don't want to be buying from Glenwood forever.
You'd build your own plant?
The water in western Pot County is a whole lot more abundant than the water in other parts of our system. And the day will come when we want to put wells in, but that's years from now.
Sure.
But with an eye to the future, yes, we're looking at that.
Okay, do you need to?
Sounds good.
I don't think so, because the loan agreement has to come back, I think, and after there's no vote, then I don't think necessary. Matt, is that
That's correct.
accurate?
We just need to come back to you with a new agreement.
Is everyone feel
And
good
you're
about
talking,
this?
the 8th? Not the 1st, you said.
Well, we need to get a hold of Dorsey's and find out how fast they can get it done, but I would suspect they could get it done in 2 weeks.
Okay, all right.
Nick, as far as the 300,000, were you okay with that portion? If we just had Dorsey take out the,
We have no
Other
objections
ones?
to the language in it.
okay.
What we used to do gaming, remember what we said? Or was it land fund?
It'd be
What's
land
that?
fund, capital project fund,
Oh,
ARPA fund.
I can't hear you.
I just wondered where you get the money.
We're gonna discuss that later.
Okay,
Okay.
I guess we got 2 weeks for you guys to figure that
well,
out.
thank you
Thanks,
guys,
Matt.
appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. and-
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Big deal.
Big deal comes to the customer.
Should I move now that you're sitting down?
No, I didn't know if you were.
It's either they pay
wanted to be
for it in
idle.
order, or they have to wait 6 to 8 months to pay the
Mhm.
tax back.
Okay.
I don't wanna do that.
Okay,
I agree.
Janet Limerick, HR, Director HR, John Russell, County Engineer, discussion or decision to approve updated secondary roads organizational chart and reclassification of project manager 2 and assistant 2 engineer to project administrator and operations administrator respectively.
Can you get that? Yeah, Melvin, can you put this presenter down?
Oh,
It was hard to look at both flow charts and kind of follow what we're trying to do here, I guess.
Yeah. I guess from my perspective, I need to recommend methods, personnel, and equipment, and the board provides funding and policy, so we got some overlap there, but kind of the overview is, I don't really have an organizational chart that I fit in, I'll start from the beginning. In 2004, when I started, I guess, we kind of got our chart together, and we figured out what was working, wasn't working. And I'm kind of a cycle guy, so in that one, we reorganized that one in 2009. I think I got some numbers here from 2010 on the results. I was $259,182 in savings for a 5.76% reduction in salary. So we did that in 2009. We got to 14 and we needed to start filling those classifications back, and Mary pretty much told me I couldn't fill those back. So we've just been kind of muddling along trying to get this work done, but I don't have an organizational chart that my people fit in. I'm kind of a dimming guy. You have to plan, and you have to do, study, and act, and you just keep going in these cycles trying to sharpen the axe, so to speak. So I really don't have, I keep trying to plan, but I haven't successfully planned anything in about 7 years as far as this organizational chart. I'm trying to get us to something so we can move forward on that organizationally, I guess. So if you go to that one, those top 3 managers are pretty much just flat with the foreman. That's probably the biggest change there. In today's numbers, those managers would be at about 95,000. If we would have continued with the 2004 organizational chart, my assistant would be at 107,000. I think we're proposing about 88. shooting from the hip here, so that's kind of flattening out. I don't know where the second tier is in other departments, but this puts them around 72% of my wages, which I think is a fair amount.
That first one, Mitch, I wouldn't even go to that first one. That first one is so old.
That's my last approved one.
These guys aren't even part of the team.
They don't exist, yes. We have those classifications, I just never hired into them, trying to fit something. I think the board wanted those wages down. I was never exactly told, but,
Okay, hold on, let's just take time out.
Okay.
What are you asking us to do here?
approve an organizational chart and 2 new classifications.
Is that our role to do that, or is our job to make sure you just fund it?
Well, it does change the job description in the fact that it changes the titles and the grade. So that would be for the board to decide.
So why are we, I'm with Justin, why are we just looking at the people that it affects? You know, you put your chart together, your organizational chart, that's your job. We shouldn't be setting that for you. I mean, if there's some adjustments that need to be made in a position or a salary, that's what we should be talking about.
Right, it's kind of the same thing, I guess, for me. I'm trying to draw a picture of what that is or why we're doing what we're doing.
I mean, I guess in my eyes, you have your positions, if you need to come back and have us change the title and all that, then we just have us approve that. I don't think, this is like severe micromanagement in my opinion. So if I'm telling you, here's what you are allowed to have as an engineer, and here's your positions that you're, that's your job,
Would you agree though, John, that one of the reasons that we are bringing this is because you felt like in the past, you tried to do this, but there were blocks and were told, no, you can't really do that. So we felt like bringing it.
Grossly overpaid. I want them to be getting paid for work that they're actually doing. And I need to make, in my opinion, you should just have the right people in the right places. I mean, that's for you. You're the lead.
Right, so the second part of this is approve the classifications then. So that would.
So this chart, the project administrator, is that just one person or is that?
Yeah, it's just one. There's numbers if there's multiple people in those positions on this organizational chart.
Operations administrator is just one?
Just one, yes.
So is a project administrator another engineer or?
Not currently, but that might be the future. Like I said, this is kind of an iteration for me. This is where we're at now, 5 years from now. I mean, the goal of mine is to provide focus for those folks doing their jobs out there and create efficiencies, but, it's gonna continue to change.
Okay, because there was, I don't know how many years ago that was, you came in and asked for, creating 2 bridge crews.
Right.
And then we never really got that quite off the ground, it didn't seem like, as far as those little bridges and stuff that they were.
Yeah, we kind of haven't got the product, I guess, first you make the change and then you study it and act and try to improve and you keep making cycles. So probably from 2002 to 2009, I recorded that we did a half new bridge every year, and now we're 2 to 3, and we're, the first time probably in the history of Pot County, we're below 100 embargoed bridges. So, I mean, it's not as successful as I wish, but it's still been successful on most.
So, we're switching from, 6 steps to 10 steps, is that what we're gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
So excuse me, is everybody who's on step and grade, everybody then? Over there, or?
Yes.
So any of them that's over 6 years, they'll have to go back on step and grade if they're.
Well, it depends on what their current pay rate is now. They may not go back into step and grade. It just depends on where they are.
Okay. then
The other employees are,
you got a union over there, right?
Yes,
Is there just one union?
yes.
I'm just not ready to vote on this today, to be honest with you. I wanna do some more looking at it. I wanna talk to you one-on-one, understand it a little better before I violate labor laws and ask questions I shouldn't, so.
I don't think we're violating any.
No, he might.
I wanna start talking names and people, and I don't wanna go down the wrong path. I'm not ready to do this, to be honest with you, and quite frankly, like, I don't even know that really the board should be. I think we should just be retitling positions, and you literally spell those out. Here's the 5 ones I need renamed, and that's it. You're asking me to do your job, I'm not doing that for you.
Okay, I can't create classifications though.
They're,
That's the,
the 2 job descriptions are in with this as well.
this was the explanation, I guess.
Yes,
for
this was the
classification.
explanation of it, and then those 2 job descriptions with the updated titles.
I'm not voting on this.
I would say bring it to us, and, I mean, you put your organizational chart together and how you run it, you know, you've got a road foreman on the east side, road foreman on the west side. We shouldn't be making that call, you need to make that call. You know, if you need to reorganize your management team, then do it and bring that change over to us. Do your own organizational chart. Do we need to approve this organizational chart?
This is for you, I'm revising it, this is just an explanation of this classification, but I think I've done everything you've asked, so I don't know if you're asking me to do something different.
Where's the job descriptions at?
I didn't see them.
I didn't see them either. Am I missing?
Is it in your next section?
Oh, yeah.
Because for
It's down here.
B1,
Regarding job descriptions and updated exemption status. Okay.
yeah, they kind of overlap a little bit.
It's down,
You know,
past.
there, you can put it on there.
Yeah.
I'm with Justin, I'm ready just to move on to the next item on our agenda, and we'll get with John and provide those job descriptions you wanna change and who they are, and rock on.
So just to clarify,
I don't really know what you want us to do.
Just approve the classifications, I guess was the agenda item, right?
Yeah, so
Approve
what-
classifications.
what John is asking for in A is changing those titles, which are listed there, and then changing it to pay grade 218, which should be listed there.
That's exactly where I'm saying that I want to do some more homework before I make a decision on this, so. Because I don't, I think I need to understand the bigger picture here a little more before I make this change.
So would there be
Because
a?
really what I see happening is some of these changes you make, we just opened up a whole other pay scale, and I'm not ready to do that yet. That's just me, I mean, I'll shut up, and you guys make your decision, I'm not gonna.
But any pay structure still comes out of John's budget.
That's the other thing, did you even budget this change?
Well, it becomes a lesser. Years.
Yeah, there's some confusion there, so it's lesser organizationally with the positions that are unfilled, but it's actually a $12,300 increase over current wages.
Because the last step on step 6 was, is this Baker Tilly, this new one, this 218? New to 218, is that?
It's
Baker?
based off of that, yes.
Because the last step in the current 218 is 4512, and in the last step in the Baker is 4214.
And again, that's with the 2.5 in between each step. I mean, we could continue to go out to 44 with a 2.5, but that'll just take us out, 12, 13 steps. So we said we'll just leave it as it is.
Jen and I worked together to adjust that.
Everything was going 10 steps max, wasn't it, or not?
There may be one that's 11 because they wanted that just a little bit higher. As long as it's 2.5 in between and coincides with where it should end.
Okay, but you got these other, that you want to do, for 911.
For B1,
Yeah, for B1 and detention manager.
yeah, but that doesn't, I know we're not there yet, but that's not changing any grades, it's just changing the exemption status.
No, I know.
Okay.
But you wanna do those too.
Yes.
So if we wanna,
Either way, if the board wants to table this, if the board wants to table 3A, the two jobs that we're talking about today will still be in B1, and I'm still recommending that they move to an exemption status. Or we change the exemption status.
The organizational chart you had prior to this, John, had names in it. How about this?
I don't know.
Right?
It's Mike Bonnet and Tina if you need names for the affected ones in this one.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, for discussion, to approve the job description update and exempt status update for the 911 assistant director, detention manager, project manager 2, and assistant engineer.
Could we pause real fast? I'm so sorry. So for 3, are we moving to 3B?
no,
I think so.
They're separate. Yeah, are we moving to 3B1 then?
yes.
Are we-
That's what you made a motion for.
Were we gonna table 3A? I'm sorry, did I miss that action?
Well, we don't have no action.
Okay, so there's just no action.
Right,
Okay, sorry.
no action taken. So we have a motion for approved job description and exempt status update for 911 assistant director.
I'll second.
Seconded by Supervisor Shea. Okay, so what does this do for everybody?
So what this does is change them from non-exempt to exempt, which means that they will no longer be eligible to earn overtime or comp time. It's just moving them from an hourly basis to a salaried basis. So the Department of Labor provides guidance on what jobs can be exempt and what jobs should stay non-exempt, so meaning hourly and that you can earn overtime. They provide some criteria for that, such as you have to make no less than $684 per week. Annually, that's only about $35,000. That's pretty low. The employee's primary duties must be the performance of office or non-manual work directly related to the management or general business operations. And the employee's primary duties include the exercise of discretion and independent judgment with respect to matters of significance. And so during the review of the job descriptions, I felt that these job descriptions attached met that testing and should be moved from non-exempt to exempt status. A letter would be sent to the employees with a 30-day notice of this. I have discussed this with the department heads and leaders of these departments as well.
Do these individuals know this? 911 assistant director, is that Christine?
That is Christine. I have had conversations with the
How about
employees.
the detention manager, who's that?
That's Brian Snyder and Louis Davids.
We had discussion with them?
Yes.
Project manager 2.
That is Mike Bonnet, who I have not had a discussion with. I have had a discussion with John.
Assistant to the engineer.
Tina.
No change in wage.
No, all this does is change the hourly status, so no longer earning overtime and comp time. That's all this changes. So then along with this, if you are an exempt employee, you can't have comp time sitting on the books. So that will be paid out in July, any comp time they have on the books.
Jim, how long do we carry, comp time? Years.
It could be, depending on how often they use it and how often they earn it. Different union contracts have different maxes of comp time that they can use it or and earn it. So it just depends. Yeah.
But in, I guess, reality, if there is such, these positions from whenever they were implemented should have been that status all along.
They could have been that status all along, yes. So the Department of Labor is not saying you have to, they're not saying you must make these exempt, you can make them exempt. They meet the criteria, you can. I'm not sure why they haven't been reviewed for an exemption change in the past, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. But they do meet the criteria.
Wasn't the criteria changed just like 3 years ago?
The criteria did change 3 years ago, that $684 per week was lowered.
Right, so that's where a lot of them got caught and had to get bumped.
Yeah, a lot of organizations, it was about 3 years ago, went ahead and reviewed all of their jobs because they lowered that wage amount. So a lot of jobs that were exempt maybe went to non-exempt and or vice versa because of that.
This probably has a bigger effect, I guess, in not, we don't micromanage the departments. Why those individuals would be getting that much overtime anyway.
I don't think these are the positions that are causing our overtime headaches by any means, are they?
They're not, well, I'm not sure. I mean, they're definitely,
If they are, I think we ought to just track and see what hours look like after this change.
yeah, they're getting overtime. Back pre-COVID, when we first started talking about overtime, and I had given the board overtime dollars, I think I had shown you these individually for those dollars. So, I mean, I guess I'm not sure, I wouldn't necessarily call it a headache, but they are earning overtime.
I'm not concerned that these folks have been earning overtime. In the civilian world, I'll call it, private world, private sector, typically you'll see a lot of these employees that used to work tons and tons of overtime, all of a sudden don't anymore. Like, they don't put in the hours anymore because they don't have to, because now they get paid to do the job now versus getting paid. So I don't think these folks will fall into that category, at least I hope not. I mean, they're all kind of management level folks, so. But
The only one with any concern from me is Mike Bonnet. During construction season, when the contractors out working on the roads, he needs to be there and put in some time. So he's just gonna have to.
I'd feel a lot more comfortable if we had a conversation with him specifically.
Yeah.
Just alter his life a little bit, Have you talked to him about it?
Yeah, I have. A lot of his overtime is, we'll get in that rut where everybody's working Saturdays and he'll pop in for a Saturday just to
I guess
break up
putting
other
enough
people's
overtime
schedule.
and it's like changing his annual wages to significantly versus what his base rate is.
I want to think he probably averaged 30 to 40 hours. I don't know if you've looked those up or not.
Yeah.
For the year.
You get what I'm saying? It's
I
like
did.
if all of a sudden we make him non-exempt or exempt or whatever I'm trying to say. And now all of a sudden we're cutting 10 grand out of his paycheck for the year,
Well, and that really would be for all of them.
Yeah, you said you talked to the others, so.
Yeah, yeah.
You had not talked to Mike Bonnet, but you said.
I've not spoken with Mike, correct.
I'm always the guy that errs on the side of the employee, so these employees are fine with it. I'm not gonna get upset about it, but if they're not okay with it, then I think we can have more discussion.
So I ran an overtime report, January 1, 2020 to February 3rd, 2021, so about a year. And it looks like Mike had 52.87 hours of overtime, which was $3,150.
About an hour a week.
1 hour a week. Yeah, you know, it's, I guess, to, you know, make sure that Mike's aware of it. You know, I think it's important for us to know who these people are, but I think it's the positions that we're talking about as far as being exempt. So if you take the names out of it, it makes it a little easier for me.
Sure.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Call for the vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Hearing none, motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve a 2.5% pay increase for department heads and non-union employees and adjustment of pay scales to reflect a 2.5% increase between steps.
Second.
Supervisor Schultz. Any discussion?
And, you know, I think what is worth discussing here is that it took a lot of creative budgeting and a lot of effort to get to this point. There are other government entities that are not getting a 2.5% raise. They're getting whatever, you know, the
CPI?
Yeah, which is like 1.1,
1.2.
Yeah, so I think as a county, we're doing really well financially. We're doing, you know, people are working hard, and I think this is well deserved. So, you know, kudos to our employees, and you know, obviously we all wish it could always be higher than this, but I think this is not well done. That's all I'll say.
Okay, anything else? Any board? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, like.
Aye.
Hearing none, motion passes. Approve change to employee handbook policy 201, salary administration.
I'll move.
Did you have a meeting on that one?
Jenny, the way I look at this,
What do you guys change?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Did you approve, or you motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
the way I look at this is that we are just making the step and grade change effective July 1 of every year.
That is correct.
And removing the anniversary date.
Correct. As well as the 6-month step increase.
Okay.
That's correct. That's what this is.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code 20.17, parent 3, for discussion and decision on labor negotiations and collective bargaining matters.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Wickman.
Thanks, John.
Second by Supervisor Shea. Roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Shea,
Aye.
Groby.
Aye.
Okay, well,
Scott, why don't you go first?
you can't leave this bridge line open, Groby, unless
Yeah.
he's gonna have to call into the